Let's start recording. We're recording in progress. What is up, Ishmael Harley? Tell the folks your name.
Ishmael Harley.
All right. Yeah, man. You gonna fix it? We're gonna do the background things, or we're gonna stick it out right. Let me see what we got.
Ain't nothing wrong.
You make it look like we're living in Mars or on Mars or something. You know, the
Living in
background.
Mars.
Yeah. So what's up, man?
What up, coach? Nothing much. Nothing much.
Oh man, I cannot express how good you look right now. I mean, you got the whole Kenny vibe going on there from South Park.
You crazy.
You looking, oh my gosh, they killed Ishmael. Man, you looking good. Seriously, like I'm so glad to have you on here. I know we're just goofing off right now, man. I just love you, buddy. I'm so glad to have you here
I love you too, coach.
on this very professional amateur podcast by Coach Horner, Josh Horner. That's how you know me, Coach Horner. And so I've been trying to get in touch with you. The last time I posted, I don't know if you've seen any of these yet, but the last time I posted one, I tried to call you in the middle of it. And I told the people that you were going to answer the phone. I gave them a shout. I gave you a shout out. I was telling you how joyful you are and how much you love the Lord, and that you're in the trenches doing ministry every day. And we're going to do what we call testimonies sometimes, and we're going to do what we call cold calls. And I was going to cold call you right in the middle of the podcast, and hopefully get you answering the phone, because I knew that if you answered the phone, you were probably going to be riding around with some little dudes that you're trying to mentor and disciple. Exactly. So I kind of wanted to let them, catch you in the middle of testimony, catch you off guard. I know that would have kind of shocked you a little bit, but that's just who I am. I want to, blindside you. Blindside you. So. All right, dude. So finally got you. We've been trying to connect and just talk, and then you called me back a while ago after a long day, tired, and I've been tired, and I got me some coffee, so I'm ready to go. So you got anything you want to say to start off? Introduce yourself to whoever, the one viewer that we have. Mama, introduce yourself to my mom who's listening.
The one viewer.
My mom and who else will be listening to this? My mom. I know Jessica's not. So my mom and my brother. I pay my family to listen to and watch me do stuff, and then give me some criticism. Give me some constructive criticism. I mean, they've been criticizing me my whole life.
Crazy, coach. No, so my name is Ishmael Harley. Grew up in Jackson, and just grew up. My grandmother raised me. My mom did too. My mom worked a lot of just manager jobs, manager positions in elementary school to provide for me. My granddad did the same thing. Just I was very, very blessed to have them in my life, and they, did a lot of just, trying to build me up into the right young man. And I believe they did a good job. Although, I'm very imperfect, and this coach, I believe that I'm the most broken person on earth, and just I made so many mistakes, dumb mistakes, and stupid mistakes, and
yes,
so, yeah,
no, I'm playing.
So, but no, just that right there, coach. And I grew up in Jackson.
So let me cut you. So I grew up in Jackson too, and we grew up in two separate parts of Jackson. So Jackson's a big area for anyone who's not from Jackson. It's a big city. And I guess it would be divided in some ways. There's some places where it's not so divided. So what part of Jackson were you from?
At first west, and then mainly south.
Okay.
We pretty much, it varied just for a span of time, a small span of time. But it kind of stuck back out to south. So it was it.
Okay. Would you say that? Don't look. Would you say you grew up kind of in the hood area?
Yeah, coach. I grew up in the hood.
I grew up in a neighborhood, but it really wasn't the hood. So
yeah, the ghetto.
Yeah. We like to think it was the hood. We, my little gang of we call us the Cupcake Gang. We walk around the Flower Squad. But
the Cupcake Gang, coach.
Nah, man. But you want to go BMX, bro? I go with anybody, man. I'll go with anybody, except for Brian Mott. Shout out. But anyway, now go ahead, man. I just kind of wanted to give anybody who's people from Jackson might not know where you're from, and then just kind of let them know like what area, like over there beside the Metro Center, right? That's where you were when I met you.
Hines Behavior Health Center. The apartments were right behind that, and I mean, growing up in the apartments was pretty rough. You've seen things that you don't want to see. Run away from dogs. That's why I don't like dogs to this day. Man,
I got attacked by one, right?
You got attacked by a dog?
I didn't tell you the story. I'm about to tell you when we have a lot more time. Well, let's just talk about it. My brother saved my life, man. I'm sure I've told this story 100 times, but just I got chased by dogs. My dad, when he was kind of in the picture when I was young, had 3 chows, and one of them was extremely angry at life, and his name was Pharaoh, which that's kind of odd, but they picked on him, teased him, made him very mean. And me and my brother, we were running outside to jump on the trampoline. My sister, you were supposed to be watching us, but you weren't. My sister let us go outside and jump on the trampoline, and we knew to be very afraid of Pharaoh, but we thought we can get to the trampoline in time. Jeff was a little bit older than me, like 7 or 8, and he was able to jump up onto the trampoline. My little fat self was a little bit slower and couldn't get on there enough. And the next thing you know, he's on my back. Pharaoh got me, and he's beat me down, and he's tearing my arm up. So I have to show you the scars one day.
Dang,
If you can look past the muscles, on the arm and see the scars. I have to show you the scars one day. But my brother's hopping on the trampoline, turns around, hears me screaming, blood everywhere like a horror movie. And he jumps off the trampoline, gets the water hose because Pharaoh didn't like water. He knew that. Quick thinking. Shout out, Jeff. Thank you so much. Saved my life. And he sprayed him with water hose and carried me inside. The rest is history. And I'm not afraid of dogs anymore, but I worked through that. So I had dogs chasing me too. So go ahead, pick up where you left off.
No, yeah,
I got to shut up, dude, because this ain't good.
Coach, you just this is good. No, then grew up in that area. Like I said, a lot of bad stuff going on. A lot of drugs, gang violence stuff over there, and grew up in that area. I had a childhood best friend. Had a few cousins that I looked up to. They always had all the Jordans and all the jerseys, hockey jerseys, NBA jerseys, NFL jerseys. They would always be matching and have all the hats, things like that, coach. And you growing up seeing that, man, you like, man, I want to be like them. And, around that time, who was really big in the rap game was like 50 Cent. So like 50 Cent was like big chains and, talking about some you a Wayster and all that. So people were vibing to it, coach. And it was I think 06, 07 era was really big on like when rap hit the scene, and it was like, all right, this is gonna probably carry the next few generations of young black man, and it have I guess you can say in a good and a bad way. Secular music does have influence. I just don't
absolutely
don't know I don't know if it's the right type of influence. You know what I'm saying? But then again, that's not me judging. That's just me, speaking from where I am now in my life. Saved, born again Christian who, doesn't want any part of that. And so, like I said, growing up doing that stuff, coach, I mean, living around that stuff and just, looking up to my older cousins and brothers and, uncles and all that, that's what you saw. Nothing but drugs, 24/7, this and that. And people always fighting. You'd always have fights after school. I remember walking across the street one time, and next thing you know, somebody got off the bus and this dude stabs this guy. And like literally, I'm there, first grade, watching it. And I'm like, man, what the world going on? And start fighting and stuff like that. I remember my cousins, we would all get ready for school in the morning, and before walking across the street, literally, they're fighting. Like, they're fighting with somebody. People trying to break it up, going and running, and it's not really working, coach, because that's really all we knew. We didn't have any father figures and nothing like that, and so that's another thing that was very prevalent in the black community is just no fathers, and even if they had a granddad, the granddad was there, but there's only so much the granddad could do, and so they're trying their best to do the right thing, coach, and live by the best means as possible is what they can do. And, having a grandmother is a really big part of the black community for sure, because it's like the grandmother is the person that just holds everything together. She makes sure that, that you're okay, that your mom's okay, that all her 13 or 14 or 18 grandkids are okay, whatever that may be. So grandmothers are also a big part of that too, and trying to keep a lot of the gang violence and drugs and things out of their, family and things like that. But when you don't have a father, coach, just as well as I do that, that's very tough. And you look up to other people, and majority of the time, people are gonna fail you. So, just
the grandmother thing for sure is cross cultural. It's kind of I don't know what it is about that generation. but the men worked hard. My grandfather was kind of in that farming game, sort of produce and things like that, and but the one who kind of kept the spiritual element of kept us all in that, like same way you said, who kind of kept the main thing holding things together was my grandmother. Even though she was a few hours from us, she always communicated through my mom, to make sure that we stayed spiritually grounded, to continue to point us back to Jesus, which is awesome. I think it's got a lot to do with, she worked. My grandmother worked odds and ends, different jobs or whatever, factory type things. But she, they had to do a lot of stuff. They had to take care of the household, man. And part of that
Right.
generation that was still, I won't say still affected by culture, maybe not as spiritual as as generations before, but still had a spiritual element to it, and was able to kind of keep the family grounded in say the gospel, so anyway, that passed down through my mom. It kind of gets watered down a little bit as it goes, but you still have those principles, and you still have that worldview that gets passed down, which honestly, it played a part in my life, the fear of the Lord, which started with my grandmother. So, which I remember started with me. I'm sure it started with hers, and so on up the chain. But man, that's extremely important, and I guess that's kind of like how I can relate to you and people like you, and is just having that same. I'm not going to go into details about my father and all that and that stuff. I mean, man, we've come a long way as far as our relationship and things like that goes, and healing and things like that. But honestly, he was absent from the picture for a while, for the most part, and so not going to knock him or anything like that. But there is your attention goes somewhere, right? And you're either going to be raised by your culture, you're going to be raised by the men in your culture, the men that your culture is idolizing, or the men that is kind of in your sphere of people you identify with. And for me, and I think for you, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, it was coaches. Those were the ones that were constantly in my life. And I've heard you. I can almost speak for you because I've heard you say different names of people who have been influences in your life, and those guys are coaches, so they play a vital role. So shout out to you, coaches. You can be a positive influence, or you can be a negative influence. So just be thoughtful about the people who are around you, because you are definitely making a difference, good difference, or a less positive impact. So go ahead, Ish. What kind of keep going. If you're on a track, keep going.
Okay. No, just and then speaking in the community, coach, like you have people that I guess you could say put on a facade. You have people who say, "Yeah, I'm here to help the community. I'm here to help you and your families and stuff like that." They come in and take money. Uh, not. I'm gonna be honest. The sometimes that look, that persona, good look for a church anywhere in Jackson. Uh, it doesn't matter the race or anything. A lot of churches, they say, "Oh yeah, we're here to help," and this and that. But you go to these churches, and you can be quick to look at the news and say, "Man, like so many young people are doing this and that." But it's like, man, hasn't God given you like the ability to go out and like change that? He's giving you the power to. He's giving you the funds. Most people don't even have that stuff. Most people don't have a good unit and a good, um, structured church and good people in the church that are willing to do God's work. But for a lot of those churches, it was just like that. They would, man, that's sad. I go see that, man, that's sad. Kept saying it's sad, but like, what are you doing about it? The people that are hurting, and some of them, because they probably used to go to the church, but then they stopped going to church because they don't want to hear about Jesus. They want to go make a G and ride around in the Benz, and that's what they saw. And then not only that, too, coach, you are influenced by like BT movies and stuff like that, man. Coach, like you paid in full. Like one to me, you know, fleshly speaking, is like one of the best like BT black movies that you can watch. Like it tells a story about how this person is literally, you know, working in the cleaners, doing his thing, and then all of a sudden, like he makes a break and just starts selling, and like he goes from making like G's to being the man in the streets, to everybody knows who he is. It's just like everybody know once you pull up in your truck, coach, like they know that's coach, but like that's the type of person that most people want to be in the hood. Like when you pull up, you want the love from the people. You want that. You want that I don't know how to put it, that high. You want that high. You want, man, I'm the man. I'm the guy. Like everybody knows who I am. If anything goes wrong, I can get it handled. Yeah, stuff like that,
Yeah.
coach. And most people like that. If they're at the top of the food chain, especially in the game, the game business or the drug business, they got ties. They know how to pull screens and do things, and it's a grimy game, but eventually you get too old for it. And so, some are smarter than others. They get out of it quick. Some die for the streets, and then you looking back at it, coach. The streets, when you drop, the streets are still gonna be popular, and I think a lot of people miss that. I think people they figure like that's the only way out. They figure that rapping is the only way out and things like that. And it's like, man, these people in these communities, whether it's in the white community, black community, Hispanic community, like, man, kids are gonna be prone to, trying to try things out, vaping, weed, whatever that may be. Not all the kids, but most kids are gonna try things out, especially if you tell them not to do it. But like, man, like the people in the community, coach, that have a positive influence, whether you're a drug dealer or whether you're a pastor, or whether you're the top HVAC dude, whether you're the top plumber over there in that area and people know you, or whether you're an accountant, whatever that may be, coach, man, go out and make an impact. Like, invest into one or two, if you can, 4 or 5 kids. Tell them, like, man, you ain't got to go down that road. Like, I'll take care of you. I'll bring you in. I'll show you what to do. I'll show you how to save your money. I'll open you up a bank account, do stuff like that. And start early. So that way they can know how to, do things in a very organized, structured way, coach. And don't force and don't pressure, but pray for them and just you try your best to live to be the best example that you can be for that person, so they can see, man, like, example. I know you didn't do everything correct as a coach, and and like anything else, coach, whatever that may be, you're not perfect. Neither am I. Like I said, I believe
Pretty
I'm
dang close.
So
I'm lying on my podcast. So I'm pretty close to perfect. And anyone says otherwise, you can go do another interview somewhere else. No, okay. I'm kidding. Go ahead. Wait. Let me stop you for just a second because I had a thought while ago, and I know I'm going to miss it. So so when did you start seeing that that's not the road that you wanted to take? Was it before you came to Jesus, or was it, you just kind of had an understanding like that's not a wise way to walk, the way that the streets, pulling G's or whatever you want to say, or
yeah, pulling G's, people, man, coach, I'm talking about 8th grade pulling out a lot of money like this thing.
Yeah. So when did you realize that was not the route you wanted to take?
3rd grade year.
Oh.
3rd grade year for sure. Watching a bunch of my buddies get taken to jail, just stuff like that, coach, and watching some stuff they did, robbing people. You see stuff on the news, whatever that may be. They carjack somebody, they bring the car back, and like, bro, what you doing, bro? Like, riding a Cadillac, man, like a nice one too. Ain't no way you brought that. Like, ain't no way. But that's some things I saw, and in my own family too, coach. Sleeping in your Ninja Turtle pajamas, and next thing you know, you got, a SWAT team member with a gun pointed over your head, and then you got a few more in the background, and then your grandma's standing there like, what's going on? It's like every morning at 3 o'clock, man, kicking in your door, like questioning, where's this cousin? Where's this cousin? Where are the drugs? I know you did this. I know you know who did, man. And you start to see, man, like they got everything that you want, but like they can't be doing something right.
Right.
Because the police here almost every day, Yeah. And so
for you to be able to see that, for you to be able to have that wisdom, and I mean, to me, it's common sense because we're both like, we're kind of wired the same way. The more that we talk, we can pick up on that. We have picked up on that, you and I talking together, but just a reason, having logic, having a mind, like thinking through things and going, that if I touch that stove, it's going to burn me. I'd rather not get burned. Right. And some people are not wired that way. They're like, well, maybe it won't burn me. Chances are it might not. Well, it probably will. So don't touch it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of, I'd rather survive. I'm a survivor. Right. But that just makes sense to me. But it's God's grace, because obviously so many people get caught up in it. So many people I made stupid decisions, but they weren't because I was like, well, maybe this was a good idea. It was because this is going to get me attention. Attention is going to make people like me. I'm going to find my acceptance. People are going to see me as valuable as before or every day I wake up, I feel as if I'm insignificant and not valuable. So what are the things that I've got to do to look significant, to look valuable? I got to be funny. I've got to be, which, I mean, that kind of molds your personality, right? From an early age, I've got to be big and strong around these group of people so that I won't get messed with. I've got to be whatever it may be, starts molding your character, starts molding your personality or whatever. And I don't know, people make choices based on that, but it's God's grace that he constantly reminded me that that's not the way I'm supposed to go. And if you go too far, it can really mess things up. And I think God was giving you grace by showing you that at an early age, right? And God gave you grace by giving you a grandma who probably, and a mother who steered you in the direction of Jesus, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm hearing a burden for people. I'm hearing that when you see people, you have compassion because you see people getting carjacked, or you see people, on the streets fighting and those things. If you're like me, they hurt your heart even before you know Jesus. There's a compassion and a love that God has instilled in us, right? And then you start seeing that's, I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to go down that route. And then you start seeing how people are responding to, when they do go to jail and when they do, it affects a lot of people, and you start caring for those people. Like, if I do this with my life, if I go to prison, then it's going to really affect my mom. If I kill somebody, that's going to put me in prison. I better not, it's going to affect that person's family. It's going to affect their eternity. It's going to affect everything. And so love really motivates a lot of that. Concern, compassion, empathy, and that motivates a lot of that. And so I don't even know where I was going with that. So keep going. When did you actually come to faith in Jesus? Like, how old were you when you accepted Christ as your Lord and Savior? You believe the gospel, and how did you hear it? Or do you remember a distinct moment when you heard the gospel and it resonated, made sense, and you gave your life to Jesus?
Yeah, about third grade specifically.
Yes.
I remember someone preaching at a specific church in Mississippi, obviously, and just the message was about repentance. And the people that I had next to me were, young, adults at the time, and about to graduate high school, and they were pouring so much into me and just, loving me. Come pick me up on the weekends, take me to play basketball. Stuff you wanted to do as a kid. I mean, I just wanted to get out of the house, coach. Got tired of being slumped in some apartments in South Jackson that where you already saw that nobody cared about you, and then, you had to deal with so much other drama. You had to be involved in other people's problems, even when you don't want to. You be outside minding your own business, and somebody will be there doing something, and you're like, well, you can't ignore this because this person is screaming, or this person says they're going to shoot this person or staff. So, I don't want to get out. And so once, things started happening and people started hanging out with me and stuff, and coach, like, that's when my life started to change. My grandmother was like, yeah, go. Like, she was like, go. I do not want you here. And the more she saw me away from there, the better she saw my future get. That was our whole mindset. Ishmael doesn't stay in these apartments. Ishmael doesn't get around his so-called buddies, or whatever, however you want to call it, homies. Then he doesn't go down the wrong path. And 110% she was right. Because then I started, surrounding myself with everybody that I went to church with in third grade. And started going to this church. And they changed my life. Everybody I turned to was a Christian, and everybody that gave me advice was a Christian. Everybody that, loved me was a Christian. Nobody was uncertain if they were a Christian. Nobody was on the borderline. Everybody was a Christian, literally. And so that put me around good people. And then I saw that and saw the happiness. And specifically in this one girl who just was talking about a ray of sunshine, just always happy, loving and kind to me when I was a kid, always giving me hugs and, calling you a little cutie and stuff like that, just like making you feel loved to the point where you're like, man, like, I know I'm loved now to the point where I don't need anybody else's approval. And it wasn't just her, it was multiple of those girls. And so they were loving on me, and you had the guys, doing the same thing. Let's go eat some pizza. Come to my house, meet my parents, stuff like that. you kind of feel honored. Like, dang, bro, you want to meet your mom and dad? Like, that's I know I ain't your girl, but I'm a little kid, and that's that kind of it hits you somewhere. You're like, dang, that's kind of
I think it's interesting. Like I've heard you say it on many occasions about, you use the word family a lot, and not just about your family. You use the word family when you're talking about me, when you're talking about other people. And I could see that is extremely important for you to see genuine, sincere love, because that's where you typically are supposed to see genuine, sincere love in a family. And so it sounds like when you got involved with this community of believers, you experienced genuine love, which I find is awesome, because you will know them by their love for one another, right? It goes back to the script, what Jesus said. It's just proof, right, that people can change, that God's love does shine through his church. Now, we're flawed, and we've had many conversations about the flaws in the church, and more so the structure of it, more so the politics in it. And we've also had to remind each other about the people in the church are still flawed people, obviously. But one of
right.
the common denominator, the thing that is constant through all of that, my screw ups and everything else, what you constantly see is maybe a repentance, a forgiveness. I get it from you, you get it from me. That's genuine love, right? That's dying to self, dying to, you done made me mad, you done offended me and my grandmama, whatever. And then,
Yeah,
but then
right.
there's a looking past that and saying, you know what, but I still do anything for you. That's love, right? And
Right.
so man, that's cool stuff. You experienced it, the gospel, not just in the message of faith and repentance towards Jesus, but you had a real taste of the love when you came to the community, which I think is pointing to something for ministry matters. I think it's pointing to the fact that we want to isolate and we want to distance ourselves from people in the church. A lot of people in the church or outside the church don't want to come to the church because they've heard that it's unloving. And this thing says that I need to upgrade, or we won't have 10 more minutes, but that's cool. We can wrap it up in a few minutes, but we can do this anytime you want, bro. And I've enjoyed it so far. But that it's almost like the enemy's blinding people from coming to a community of believers, thinking that they're not going to find love because they're seeing the flaws in the people. But everyone I've ever been part of, every church that I consider and criticize and take people there that get on my nerves, people there who have abused others, people there who have not expressed love, I have noticed that there are so many in there that are expressing sincere love. And even some of the ones who are knuckleheads, who I would call knuckleheads or boneheads, and maybe some worse language I probably shouldn't be using that. No, I'm just kidding. I ain't cussing them, you know what I'm saying? But some of those people, you can still have a real conversation with them and listen to them, and you can still see evidence of the love of Christ in them. You can just see that they've allowed bitterness or some stronghold to come over their life. And but it's just, to me, it's ironic. People are like, I'm not coming because I won't experience love, when the truth is, if they were to go to a community of believers, they would actually experience that love, and it would draw them in, right? And it would help them in a way. And if it'll help them by showing them the negative, right? And tell them, I don't want to be like that. Kind of like you're in your Ninja Turtle pajamas, and you're like, there's a negative. I don't want to be like that. But then in that same household, maybe there's the grandmother and say, I do want to be like that. So you can see the good and you can see the bad and adjust your life accordingly. You see who's living for the Lord. That's the way I want to live. You can see that in one person. I could see your flesh, and I could see the Spirit of God working in you and say, well, I don't want to be like this that I see Ishmael's exhibiting, because I could see that's Ishmael. But I do want to be like this, which is Jesus in Ishmael. I want to live like him. So that's awesome. That's
Yes,
good
sir.
stuff. So the love of Christ, his grace, giving you the gospel. You heard the gospel message because your grandmother encouraged you to know the Lord. Your mother cultivated that. You left you wanted to get out and you wanted to get around people, and you went to the church. You heard the message of the gospel, and the love that they expressed towards you drew you even more into that environment. And so briefly, just kind of like, where did it go from there to
Just from there.
where you are today? How old are you now?
24, coach.
24 years old. I remember when I was 24, I was getting married. So to the love of my life, the most beautiful girl in the world, Jessica. Shout out. Go ahead. Finish up. We got 7 minutes and 35. No, we can always stop this and do another meeting. So and get past the system. There's always a loophole.
It's always a loophole. It is. No, just from then on, it just elevated, coach. Kept going. What I see myself do today is exactly what they did. And they did it in their own way. I do it in my own way. But it's still ministry.
You're talking about doing ministry.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's
okay.
the same thing. They're just loving on you, letting you in their inner circle.
Yeah. Who are you ministering to?
Me right now?
Yeah, like are you speaking of the people in your church where you serve, City Church? Are you speaking of just anybody and everybody? Which I know you do that, anybody and everybody, but you're speaking right now towards you're trying to exhibit that same love that community of believers showed you. You're trying to do the same thing for this community of believers. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it, Coach. You know, you look at Jackson itself. I mean, most people don't want to live in Jackson, Coach. Most people don't even want to come near Jackson, let alone, you know, somebody's daughter is like, hey, I want to go to highball in Jackson. I'm just bowl my friends. During daytime, now parents are more like, nope, can't go. You know, and friends are like, for what? You know, but I mean, Coach Jackson needs, and we need leaders to step up. But nope, everybody that claims to step up, they're not stepping up. I mean, they wouldn't be what we are now, and to the point where it's a lot of things that are, it has led to a misconception on a lot of things. People don't want to know the truth with communities like that. You have single mothers out there who would let most people, if they're good people, that want to pour into their son or, you know, oldest son, whatever, they will let them do it because they want better for their kid. I don't know one parent that I have met that I mentor right now that doesn't want better for their kid.
Yeah.
My grandmother wanted better for me. You know, I want better for my future kids. I tell the kids I mentor today, I'm like, man, I want y'all to be better than me. And, you know, I want y'all to, you know, stick with me, but just know that I want y'all to be better than me. I'm gonna push y'all to be better than me because Ishy's a broken soul, and you know, I'm a nobody. I don't want recognition. Yeah, I'm somebody with Christ, but at the end of the day, I believe that I'm a nobody. I believe that, you know, just, you know, I'm nothing without Jesus. A life without Christ is never fixed, and I know that I'm Ishmael, the person that I am, even with all the horrible mistakes that I've made because of Jesus Christ. And he gives me the strength to move past that stuff, Coach. You know, I deal with that stuff every day too, just, you know, being able to mentor somebody and have the ability to do that. But I just think about all the small mistakes that I made, whether that's verbally, whether that's, you know, thought wise, you know, it's a lot of stuff, Coach, that goes on and you think, man, like, how am I even worthy enough to even do something like that? How am I even worthy enough to, you know,
tell me about it.
You know, sitting here to talk to you, Coach. That stuff is real, and it hits me because, you know, if I can go back and probably switch up all the mistakes I made, Coach, I would. I would just probably be, you know, doing all the good stuff that I did and just leave all the bad stuff alone. So imperfect, Coach, and I don't claim to be this perfect guy. I don't claim to be this happy-go-lucky guy who, quote unquote, you have a nice smile and you're a good guy and all this stuff and you're so good with people. No, I'm not good with people. Jesus is. He's using me. I'm not good with people.
Just being available. And I think using what God gives you. Number one, that God has given you a heart for him, and he's given you a heart for, from the very beginning, God showed you things that resonated, you know, with you, that touched your heart at an early age, even before you might have started following the Lord, that were important and burdens on your heart. They became even more of a burden when you started experiencing the love of Christ. And when that took place, that is, God wants you to use that and your story, and God wants to use you, an imperfect vessel, me, an imperfect vessel. He's given you that burden. He's given you that heart. He's given you the personality to be, and the ability to connect with people through your teeth. Not kidding. Like you connect with your beauty, right? He's given you your handsome, you know, characteristics, and he's going to use you in that way. No, I'm just kidding, but he does. He uses us, our individuality. He uses but, you know, to be used for his glory, and yeah, so the burdens on our hearts come from our experiences, I think, and that comes from the grace of God for us to reach back out and to mentor others. So you've been taking these kids, you've been, you know, letting me know, we talk about it, you're taking these kids and let them do athletic stuff like on the football field at Belhaven, or taking them out. You've sent me food. You said food's a great way to minister. Side note, anybody's listening, you want to minister to somebody, get them some food, Ishmael says. And he sees how it works. People listen, man, if you feed them, bro. And so no, but that's kind of what he's doing right now. And I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff that he doesn't want recognition for, neither do I. And both of us have that same sounds like you got that same issue that I got. Like, who am I? When I was a pastor, when I was a teacher, when I was doing anything, even on this podcast, giving like advice or anything, I'm sitting there, the enemy's throwing up all that crap, all that stuff. Well, you were just literally doing this, or just literally thinking this, or even when Ish was talking, you had this thought about this person that was not necessarily godly. See, you're a failure, but God, he doesn't see us as a failure. He sees us as one who he's redeemed and he's put forth out there for his glory and for our good. And what we need to remember is Romans chapter 8. We're more than conquerors, right? And nothing's going to separate us from his love. So we can all learn from this, bro. I'm down to 1 minute and 33 seconds. And before we have to start either a new video or let's summarize this and let's say goodnight, because I know
we can start another video, but just kind of going on what you just said, Coach. Like, too, when you tell somebody that too, most people look at most videos. When somebody's trying to genuinely mean what we just said, most people would take what you say, and like just turn it into bad. Like you meant it for good, but somebody's gonna take it and try to run with it and just make something out of it. Like no matter how good, I can do with the kids or whatever, somebody's gonna find some way to throw something in there. Like, it's just, I mean, that's the same thing with this. Is like what I told you, truly meaning that. Like I do, Coach. I've made, and this is me being honest. It's like I don't want anybody to look at me as a role model. Care less. I just want to lead people to the kingdom, put the kingdom forward. But that's the thing, Coach. I know. In some of my worst sins, quote unquote, have been sexual, and I feel horrible about it.
Yeah,
because I know that.
Let's do another video because it's fixing to cut you off. So I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna send you another link and then we'll pick up where we left off and I'll patch it in.
All right.
I'm enjoying it, man. Give me just a few seconds.
All right, but
I'm distracted trying to keep you from cutting you off in mid sentence. But I was hearing that you can do all of these things that you feel the Lord has laid on your heart to do to serve. Boy, I got that Gatorade. Look out! I wish I had something. I'm gonna grab something to drink if that's cool with you. And you get your thoughts together, but you were just talking about how you could do all those things and somebody somewhere is going to come and criticize you. So I'm gonna take my gaming goggles off. I'm not goggles, my goggles. I'm gonna take these stupid things off real quick. Grab me a drink over here. A little hold on one second. Don't be looking at my stuff back here. All right, in the background there. Okay. Don't be looking at none of that. All right, my chair.
Get a full view of my bedroom.
We're good to go, I think. This podcast is brought to you in part by Coca-Cola Classic. Coca-Cola Classic. Can you hear me? Are you on mute?
No, Coach.
Well, you need a microphone like this so you can talk really clear.
Oh, yeah, you can hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, man. I'm just playing. I'm just trying to flaunt my new mic and everything. I'm going to get you a mic so you can be a recurring guest on here. Listen, got sound effects and all. So
sound effects.
Etiquette. Look. All right, we're good. So pick up where you left off, boss. And first off, let me just say that I think, man, this is going to be used. Just hearing your heart, talking with you on more than one occasion. Hopefully, we'll get to do this and just kind of, I'm not saying it's going to be the Ish and Josh show. But it's definitely got some potential. No, but you got to help me. You got to help me with. We got to come up with some kind of intro. You know what I'm saying? Like when you first turn a podcast on, you got a little jingle there. So we have to rap something or get Mississippi Richie to come in and rap something for us, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hey,
Ministry matter, right? I'm going to pull out some of that old Hillcrest stuff on you.
Man, Richie a trip.
Yeah, Richie. Yeah. So I'm going to call Richie out and get him on here with us and let him get us a jingle going. All right. So I've talked enough.
He's a good guy, Coach.
Talked enough. So, all right, the kids you're kind of mentoring right now, these are City Church kids?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And City Church is a church plant that came to the area where you grew up. Is that correct?
Sure it is.
Okay, cool. So you serve there, kind of, and that's where you do majority of your ministry in that area still. And I see these kids, they look happy that they got somebody to look up to, you kind of like a big brother. And it's important to you that you're that father figure type mentor to someone, because that seems to be something that was important to you in your life too. And so anyway, tell me about it. What do you try to do with these guys? What kind of ministry are you doing with them?
Coach, just taking them away, taking them out of the, taking them out of the. How do you put it? Trying to figure the best way to put it. It's like all you know is home, and you're taking somebody away from that, and just showing them that hey, there's a different way out, and there is something different about life, and that different thing that there is about life is Jesus Christ, and showing them that, you know, I put on nothing but Christian rap. You can ask them. I ain't got to sit here in front and try to, say anything. That's just me. I listen to a lot of Christian rappers. I put on some Big Breeze and put on some Hovey and put on some TJ, and we ride down the road and listen to some 1K and listen.
Everything you just said sounded like cologne to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Big
know it.
big breeze, some what'd you say? Some Hoji. That sounded like something I bought at that Belk, man. Spray on me, man. It smelled good.
Hovey.
They spitting that stuff, showing the aroma of Christ, or putting out the aroma of Christ.
Hovey a white boy though, coach. He
Yeah,
can
look,
spit.
that's what I'm talking about.
Just like
I,
NF. You got, hey, I'm being real with you, coach. A lot of white rappers busting out the scene, and they pretty solid. Being real.
I miss my calling, man. I challenge many rappers out there to a duel if you ever want to come and freestyle. So I'm just letting you know. Yeah, I got them now. And like a lot of stuff down there in the computer back here that I probably don't need to come out, but might come out if I get this freestyling. So I got to be a little careful with that. But in my heart, the good stuff will come out first. But then when you're searching for words, when you start running out of them, then you end up throwing out some kind of word you didn't mean to say. You know what I mean? They're saying, "Ooh, you ain't supposed to be talking like that." So I got to be careful because there's still the flesh is down in there, son. You know that, right? So you got to be careful, be mindful. You got too many words. That's one of the areas that I mess up a lot is the Proverbs talk about, being wise and not speaking so much. And then, of course, James picking up on some of that same Proverbs wisdom literature says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, right? And I'm an idiot there. Obviously, a fool speaks too much, and that's me. So shut me up. I'm cutting you off, man. You're in the middle of talking about how you serving the Lord. And I'm like, I got to talk. Somebody's got to hear me.
Just talking, coach. You're just talking.
Yeah, man.
Neither one of us perfect. We just enjoying each other. No, coach, but that's what I do. Take them out of that, and pretty much I just, football. Man, them kids love football.
Yeah.
Go to Belhaven, drive over there to Belhaven, coach. After I get done picking them all up, we'll go over there and play football. And so all they do is just throw the football.
Yeah.
Like the big letters on the field, the field's turf. And after we get done throwing the football and get a little bored doing that, they'll start like running on the outlines of the letters, the B's and the threes and the zero. Like I'm talking about, they're just running, and I'm like, bruh. And I'm thinking back as I see them, I'm like, man, was that how I was as a kid? Just to the point where I just wanted somebody to do this with me. I just wanted to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's true. And the people that did that, they don't know it, but they impacted me a lot.
Yeah.
And,
I had a similar experience, and I don't know, like, if it goes back to that father thing or not. It probably does, but I'm sitting in elementary school, and I was in Jackson at the time. I was over there by Rebelwood. You probably heard of them, right? Yeah, I got some connections over there, man, near Rebelwood. So anyway, like I've heard cops say they didn't want to go up in there, but no, I'm over there at Baker, and sitting in class, and they paired me up with this lawyer guy and this program that they were trying to have people come in and basically be mentors toward. And they had a few select kids that they would sign up for this. And I don't know if it was because they knew my situation or what, or they just thought I'd maybe I was a kid who looked like he had some needs or something. I don't know, but this guy, he kind of did that. He took me camping with him and his son, and he would come and get me and take me to like an art museum or something like that, and a science museum with his kid, and we would go. And it was just really cool. He would take me, I think, to one time we might have even went to his work. He was a lawyer or something like that, and just kind of showed me some stuff. And obviously he read a book with me one time, which might have been the whole reason for the whole program or not, teach me how to read or something. I don't know, because I seemed to struggle a little bit back then. But the that really did the same thing for me. It kind of made me like I really admired people who would give up their time to take me camping with them. They barely knew me, you know what I mean? And to take me places and come, think about it, you're getting off work at your lunch break and you're going to volunteer time at an elementary school in South Jackson. I mean, I don't know what motivation he had for that, but for me, like that's what you're doing, right? I mean, yeah, you're in ministry and yeah, you're you're helping out with City Church and all that, but that seems to be your heart and that seems to be genuine. It seems to be something you really love and do, but you're doing it with the right heart. Like you're not doing it for the recognition. You're not doing it for some kind of because somebody is going to put you up for an award or something. You're not doing it because your office told you had to, right? It's you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're communicating those reasons, that it's because of Jesus that you're expressing that love, right? And I think that that's the missing thing that I had. And I'm saying the guy wasn't a Christian. He just didn't share Bible stories with me. It wasn't like that. It was more, I just want to show you like there are positive male influences out there. And, that's kind of what I got from it. But imagine if he would have came and said, and here's the truth, right? We're out camping and he's talking about, hey, I'm doing this because someone did the same thing for me. Someone expressed self-sacrificial love for me and caused me to do the same thing, is put that love down into my heart. And I can't help but do stuff like this. So I think that's kind of what you're experiencing, what you're doing. And you're probably like me going, I don't know, but the enemy's throwing that stuff out again and saying, yeah, but Ish, you're not perfect and you're doing this and you're doing that. And this can be said about, well, you really didn't do enough. You just took them out there and ran some laps. My goodness, is that enough? I don't know if you hear those voices or not, but I hear those voices. Well, you talking about you did ministry. You just went to work and you came home. Well, did I? I mean, I mentioned the Lord, or I expressed genuine love, or I expressed self-sacrifice for the good of someone else. And that is a continual thing each day, even though I fall short. That is modeling the Christian life. Now, that's not going to save anyone in and of itself, but that's going to lead to building relationships that show that there is something different about you. And then when those moments come when you can share the gospel, then bam, you've already got that relationship built. You've got those heart connections. They already admire you. They already see that love. And then you're telling them where that love comes from at just the right time when God opens those doors. And I think that's gonna mean more than me coming up to let's say FedEx with a bullhorn and standing in the parking lot and screaming and hollering, "Repent or return to burn, brother." And I think that's gonna make a better impact in someone else's life. And so I just got to remember, we're not on our timetable, we're on God's timetable. And so everything you're doing is what I'm getting at with all this, is everything you're doing is from a sincere heart, flaws and all, and it is making a difference. It's coming from your understanding of love, your understanding of acceptance, your understanding of the need for other people to have that, and you're getting after it. And so criticism or not, I mean, whatever. I'm being criticized by myself. I'm being criticized by the enemy. I don't know if other people are criticizing me or not, but I imagine that they are. Like, I make up scenarios in my head where people are criticizing me, right? Because I'm not doing this or that. But at the end of the day, what's true is the present right now. Right.
Right. You're always gonna have somebody who's gonna criticize you, coach. It's just, I mean, there's nobody in history who has done good for a community or anything without anybody criticizing. Because either that's someone that is trying to criticize that person by saying, look, well, anybody could have done that. Well, is it true? Could anybody have done what that person done? I don't think so, because God has different people for different things. And most of those people that are different, coach, they might be wired in a way that that person might not be. Yeah. And I think most of that stuff does come back to jealousy. When people sit back too long and say, well, this is and that, and they talk about it and they don't go out and act. But then once one person does that, they go out and act and make a difference. It's jealousy. Yeah. Simple. And like that jealousy that comes from them is also coming from, Satan too, because now he had, oh, you're not better than that person. This person went to Harvard or whatever like that. It's like, coach, being 24 and going back to the times when we were in high school and the coaches that I had there, including you and things like that, they tell you, like, trying to get you ready for the real world. It doesn't really click as much while you're there because you're like, bro, I'm in high school. Yeah. How are you trying to get me ready for the real world? I'm just being honest. Everybody probably thought that. I can only think of like one kid that probably was like, you know what? I respect it. And I respect it too, but I'm thinking like, how is this going to apply to the real world? And sports teach you discipline. Sports teach you structure. Sports teach you teamwork, working together, um, together policy when it comes to sports. Because no one man is better than the whole team. If so, then we would have had a lot of one one persons in the past trying to win a championship by themselves and stuff like that. That's impossible. You need a line to block you.
Mm.
A good running back to block when when it's time for pass rushes to come and things like that. I mean, and yeah, you might be a good player, but you can't do it on your own. And long story short, coach, is what I'm saying is that you know we all we all are at a position. I might be a slot receiver. You might be a linebacker, coach, but God has you at that specific position because He knows that you're going to do everything to your full capability. And He knows that you're going to be good at that because you're a good linebacker.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I say, ain't no doubt about it. I would have been a linebacker in God's little system here. I don't. No, I'm kidding. But I thought you were gonna say lineman. I was like, don't be throwing those jokes on me, bro. I was a good lineman, best offensive lineman, by the way. But no, I'm kidding. But yeah, so it goes back to that. When some of us are toes, right? Some of us are hands. Some of us are eye, an ear, mouth, that sort of thing. And in this world in ministry, it's almost like what I've seen over the years, and I guess 12 years or so of this.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's like it's almost better to be that lineman. It's almost better to be that one who doesn't get the recognition. It is. It's better because number one, it doesn't go to your head. You kind of you don't get the criticism like you would if you were in those leadership roles. Because I mean, obviously, God has called us to leadership. I'm not trying to avoid that. I've tried to avoid that. You can't avoid that. You will be criticized. I reposted something somebody else posted about. When you sign up for leadership, it's 100% guaranteed you're going to be criticized by others. But in ministry, it's almost better. And I look at these others who are in the trenches every day, who are not known, who nobody would know what they're doing except for their immediate sphere of influence. And I think that's what God cares about, is our immediate sphere of influence. I think when you get in those other roles, there's that temptation to try to change the world, and you forget. I think I shared this in my last podcast. You forget that the ministry that's right in front of you is the most important ministry. You can tank a whole congregation of 150 to 200 people because you're looking at the next congregation of 500 or the next congregation of 1,500. You're wanting I want to reach more, and then you're not paying attention to the needs of the people that are in front of you. It's the same concept with your 3 or 4 that you take to Bellhaven and the Wendy's to get a Frosty. Definitely not McDonald's to get any ice cream because their machine's always broken. But you start looking past those people and you start looking at what's next for Ish. I know that I'm not saying you're doing that, but that's just hypothetical situation. But that was me at Hillcrest. Not like I said before, not because I wanted to be awesome or whatever, but there is a part of you that wants to have that satisfaction of feeling like you're making a difference, and that's kind of something that I felt like, in all honesty, that significance thing has come up over and over again in my life. That's a reason that I did the things that I did, was to feel important, to feel accepted. And I think on the ministry side of things, it's still there, to try to be someone that is significant or is seen as significant. So even though, and that's kind of where I start overthinking, I'm like, even though, God is, even though I want to be accepted and want to be valued, that's a flaw. There's an identity crisis that comes with that. And you trying to put yourself in a position of pastor or teacher or whatever. There's that part of that where you're kind of wanting to be that role, to feel important, to be that guy that you're talking about that pulls up with the truck, and people understand, and people know who you are. You wanting that acceptance, wanting somebody to value you or like you. There's that there, but there's also the fact in my life that God has clearly given gifts to people, right, for His church, and He's clearly given me a calling in life that is to play one of those roles as teacher, as pastor, as a preacher, right? So it's kind of like a battle. It's even a harder battle for me because I already struggle with that, wanting to be significant. And then people can criticize you. Other leaders can criticize you and say, you're not in this for the right reasons. Maybe you're not called to this. Well, fact of the matter is, I'm the one who's doubted my call more than anyone else, right? I've had that problem before. And yes, I do have that issue with wanting to be significant, wanting to be valuable. And there's that temptation to want the bigger platform so that you can say, I am making a difference. right? Look at the difference I'm making. There's that there, but there's also the pressure of the call in general that I believe that you have. I don't know that I'm not God, but I believe other people see it in you too, that you have a passion and desire to gospel ministry, and you have a gift to use that, not just in the church, but outside the church. And we're like a missionary type mindset, of evangelist type role. And I have that same thing. So both things, I have the call and I have the temptation to be, to put on that, what do you call it? To put on that false identity, right? My identity should be in Christ, but also the fulfillment of his call for my life is what I need to do. So I'm not going to run from preaching, pastoring, or those things because I'm going to doubt it, because I know that God's gifted me in those ways. So I just go with whatever God opens the door. And I think that's the wisest thing to do, rather than put yourself or place yourself in a position. You wait for God to open doors. And if that's ministering at FedEx in a way under the radar, kind of not really hiding it, but basically you can't go in there and just say, open your Bibles, while we're out here loading trucks, I invite you to turn with me to Hebrews chapter 3. You can't do that, but there's a ministry there. And then when God opens another door to say, teach Bible, I'm stepping in, and then I'm putting that hat back on. When God opens another door to be an evangelist, I'm going to step in there and do that. When he's going to open the door to preach, I'm going to do that. And if he opens the door to pastor, I'm going to do that. And I think that's enough. Whatever God calls you to in the moment, that's what you do. Because at the end of the day, you can prepare all day in seminary. We've talked about this before. You can prepare all day to be the pastor. I'll take the pastoral track in seminary. I'm taking the missionary track or the counselor's track in seminary. And then at the end of the day, you can get in your car and get hit by a car on the way home. What did you do today to glorify God? Is what it all boils down to. Were you obedient to choose God's way rather than your way? And I think it's what it boils down to. And other people can speak into your life, and other people, I believe the Lord is doing this for you and doing that for you. But at the end of the day, you wake up, Ish, and you say, God, you're the Lord of my life. What is it you've got for me today? And you follow through with that. And
Yes, sir.
don't be surprised, I will say, if God don't put that pastoral hat on you at some point, or which he already kind of has in a sense, a minister, but don't be surprised if he puts you in those roles, but don't seek the role, seek to serve the Lord. I think that's a good place for me to shut my mouth and let you keep going. So I think what you're doing is awesome. I think you're pouring back into a community of people. And I think the more that you touch these kids' lives, and, let's just say one of them is impacted to where it lasts, and he's still in that same community and he starts pouring into someone else, you never know, what God could do with that. You know what I mean? And another Ish is born there, and another Ish is reaching out to his community and sees those things. I'm not going to run from this. I'm going to go back into that, and I'm going to pour into those people, and my family, my community, my friends. And I'm going to see that a lot of people are, I said I was going to shut up, but I'm not. A lot of people are doing what it says in James, right? Being hearers of the word and not doers of the word, and seeing the injustice, or the orphans and the widows, right? However, you want to put it, the orphans and the widows, and saying, oh, right, that's sad, right? But then they're not doing anything about it. So if you can control it, and you just, and it's right there in front of you, then I'm learning, like you're learning, it's important to try to do it and make a difference.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so is there a particular burden on your heart? I know you've talked about that burden for a while, but like, what, if you can summarize that, what's the burden on your heart right now? Like, if you wake up every day, what's driving you? Like, what's the burden?
I guess just not understanding things about the church,
Yeah.
overall church. And that goes for like just how the church is set up. Just I understand some things. You're reading scripture, and then you're like, well, man, if this is good in the Bible, then this would definitely be good in today's church. But you don't see it that often,
Yeah.
unless it's with a big church or a mega church. And half the time, you probably don't even see it there. They're probably not even qualified to do some of the things they do. And I know I'm not qualified to do anything that I'm doing, but I'm talking about in a way where we put, I don't know, it's almost like we add new titles to ministry work. We're just, I don't know, some stuff, coach, I just look at and I'm just like, where is this in scripture? Where's that in scripture? It's like, why can't we just stick with what God has given us and stop trying to create new ways to innovate his game? Like Jesus started the game and he elevated it. and he's the only one that did it. He's just using us as puppets. So why are we trying to take something that somebody made perfectly and try to put our hands in it and get it messy and nasty? Like, just kind of confusing with that though, coach. That's been a burden. So I'm just kind of, you know, when I have days that, for a fact that I'm like, man, like, it's, you aren't perfect, and I know I'm not. I know I don't act like I am perfect. Uh, you know, I try to just live my everyday life to the best of my ability by pointing to those kids, um, and really only talking to a few people. And that's on a daily basis. And I've been very blessed to have somebody like you that I talk to every day, not 1 or 2, 3 days out of a week, but like every day. Um, and another guy who is a pastor in a small little country town in in Mississippi.
Shout out, Brad. Shout out to Brad.
Just like talking to both of y'all, man, it's more like like a hiding place.
Yeah.
Brother can go and talk to y'all about anything, and it's good advice.
My advice might be good sometimes, and not. But I will say this, man. Like, and I always caution you. You can testify, all right, about this. But none of this is placed up yet, but it will be placed up. So just remember that. But like, I want to be a listener, and I want to give you advice from my own heart. But you know that I've been honest with you that I'm struggling with the same things with the church positions, and that's you saying that is. It's that what your burden is the same burden in my heart, and I don't think that came from an idea that you got from me. I think that's something that was happening in your heart. That's one of the reasons that we've connected, right? And more so in the last few years, our last couple of years has been that we're both seeing some of the same. We're not alone, bro. There's a whole lot of people out there who are seeing the same things. But I want to be careful with like I'm struggling with all that too. The church government, the organization, the structure, and all of that. It's necessary. I'm learning it's necessary. The people are necessary. We just talked about the love, right? That is seen in a community of people. You can't do life without a community of people. So when you say advice, just be careful with me, right? Because I'm still wrestling and straining with the same things. But I think you know the Bible, and I think you are seeing the same things that I'm seeing. And so as long as we kind of remind each other, bro, we can't go off the rails. We can't just say throw the church out, but we are seeing clearly issues with what man has done with traditions.
Yeah.
You want to criticize the Catholic Church, you want to criticize for whatever church for their structure and for the traditions of man, right? But we got it in ours too. And so, you see what I'm saying? And it's crept in, it's just clothed as something else. Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's man's ways. And when we put man's ways on people, it just jacks things up.
That's what I'm saying, coach. It's like it's messy. But no, I'm not, your advice is coming from the Bible all the time. And so is Brad. I don't feel as if me making that comment, anyone should take it wrong whenever you post it or whatever. But then
No.
then again, you never know how people think, and so
I just don't want people like Coach Horner's poisoning his mind. He's pushing him away from the church or anything, and that ain't true. And
man, what you done to me, what you done for me, coaches, push me to be better, and not only that, push me to dig stronger into my community and where I'm planted at this church. And that if anybody has any questions, just step to me and ask, and I'll tell you. I don't, being honest with you, coach, man, I'm not the extrovert that I used to be. Man, people think that just because you see, oh man, this person, that person. No, I'm telling you, coach, I wake up every morning, I send out my morning text, and the people that I really talk to, you and Brad, and when I see my community in person, I talk to them. But as far as just like on a communication level, there's nothing wrong with that. You just find people that you click with, and you find people that you're like, man, I can talk to this person without feeling, I don't know, just without feeling not heard sometimes. So, those type of things, and you work through things when you talk to people, man, coach. Like, you listen, and so do I. Like, I listen to people because I care about people's heart, care about how they feel, how they, what their heart is looking like. And that's the same thing I do with the kids. Can't tell you how many times the past few weeks, some of the stuff I've been told. Ishmael, man, can't go to bed I'm up at 1:04 in the morning. They're playing loud music. My kids sending me, um, the recording thing on the phone, and I'm like, man, like that's crazy. And this kid is 12, trying to do the right thing, but he's telling me I can't go to sleep. Sending me a message at 2 in the morning and things like that. So like, what I'm saying is, coach, is like, having you and Brad and other people, now specifically in my life, to be able to talk and people that I click with. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has somebody that they can talk to that they feel more comfortable with. I personally believe that you just find those people that you click with. And there's other people I talk to too about certain things, but as far as like clicking with them and like really talking to them about just anything, like and having a sense of a good conversation and really choosing the right words to say and things like that, and just I feel comfortable around you. I don't, and you and Brad, and so I don't think anything is wrong with that. I don't think like I said, what I said, it was all coming from a good place. It's just more of who you look up to. I'm thankful for the people that I had when I was at Hillcrest, and I was there. I can't tell you, the coaches there were phenomenal in my opinion.
Yeah.
And all of them are like father figures. And I don't really get a chance to talk to any of them like I used to. Just busy. When you got kids, you got kids. I think the thing for you is just it's very different for you because me and you are wired the same. Like I think it's better to like do stuff like this and to call. Most people are more like texting. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things are cultural too. Like I've come to find out that most white people don't like to talk on the phone. They don't.
I don't like to talk too much, but when I talk, I talk. But at the same time on the phone, I'll send a text. I don't want to get locked in, you know what I mean? But I don't mind getting locked in with you. Because it goes both ways. You talk about how people encourage you and speak into your life, but even back at the end of the day, you might have been young when you came to faith and didn't experience life the way that I did before I came to faith. But at the same time, your Christian life started. If you're saying you came to faith at third grade, then we've both got about the same amount of years in the Christian faith. Now, I might have understood things just because of the age and the maturity of my mind and things like that. Might have understood more theology and just digging in like I did as a grown up, not having school and all those things in my way, so I might have matured a little faster in the word, that sort of thing. But we both, born again around the same time, as far as the same amount of years and that sort of thing. But I think that, you were encouragement for me at Hillcrest. Whenever I was struggling with was I making a difference or not, preaching my heart out at chapels, and then nobody, I could tell I made people mad at sometimes, and I tell that other times I didn't, but it was always you would come in and encourage me to that Lord spoke to you through that, and other people, hey, they're going to hear it whether they know it or not, that you would remind me of those things. And man, just been an impact in my life, been encouraging there. And then now you're this has been, like I said before, one of my other ones, that this has been the most challenging season of my life as a Christian. One other time when I was working through the call to preach, and my wife knows, that was the hardest time in my marriage, was that call to ministry. So it was one of the hardest times in ministry. This is kind of as far as the difficulty of following Jesus and not understanding things. This has been the most challenging time. So here you are again, being an encourager to me, and it's good to see how much you've grown in that. So like you were always an encourager. You've always had the encouraging heart. You've always been the one to see someone, to love someone, and to come say something. The way in which you said it back then, might not have been, with the most tact. I guess you would just, Coach, nobody was listening to what you said, but I was, and they're going to hear it. And I just like walk away from there, and all I heard was nobody was listening to what you said. And so it became a joke with me. I'd laugh about how much love was radiating out of you and how much good intentions you had. But then when you leave my classroom, I was like, dang, he had to say that, you know what I mean? Like, everybody else hates you, man, but I love you, that's but like, I would be like, that sucks, but at the same time, like, and now I was hearing you give me advice the other day, this is a couple weeks ago. We were talking, and you were telling me about, being encouraged at the little victories that I was having, or the things that I was doing here, just small things here. And you were encouraging me in that, and the advice you were giving me was so much. I mean, it was still the same encouragement, the same type of advice, but it was just better. I mean, I'm not saying like it was just, you can tell how much you've matured as a man and grown. And I think that just comes with hardships of life. I think it just comes with walking as a Christian, walking against persecution, having to be courageous, having to see that you're not everything's hunky dory, not everything's gonna be perfect, but pain comes with living the Christian life, and you learn how to not only cope with that, but you also learn how to encourage others. What does it say in Corinthians? That we receive comfort, and then we turn around and we comfort others with that same comfort that God gives us. And so I've seen you do that. So I want to say you're growing tremendously, whether you know it or not, just over the last several years, just watching your heart develop for the Lord, and now watching you kind of struggle through some things, wrestle with some things, but still seeing you pour out. And I just want to encourage you to keep pouring out, and because you're helping me, and you're helping, no doubt, helping those kids. So don't get discouraged with the criticism. Don't get discouraged with where you're at. Just remember that God puts us where we are. He's sovereign over our circumstances.
Sure.
At the end of the day, we know that there is a real devil. There's a real enemy out there, still stealing, killing, and destroying, seeking to do that anyway, and bringing discouragement. And there is a real enemy out there that's causing havoc in this world, danger and destruction and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we got a God who's sovereign over all of that. So he allows it. Remember Job, right? He allows every bit of that. And the Bible tells us he works everything according to the counsel of his will. So you're going through difficult stuff. I'm going through difficult stuff. At the end of the day, God is ultimately in control. Even though we've made real decisions, we are where we are because God sovereignly placed us here. So make a difference where you are. And we got about 4 minutes left on this one. And so anything else you just want to say just to wrap things up?
Yeah, no, coach, just kind of. I know me and you just kind of went in a circle. We kind of on a rabbit trail for a little bit.
Oh man, I think it's great. I think everything was great. I really do.
But no, just I would say this too, coach, is more of like I'm a very loving person, a very caring person, and so like it really coming where I come from, a lot of the traits came from my grandma, and I watch her be so kind of loving to people and seeing people do her dirty, and she's still, you know, helping people. I'm like, man, why are you still doing this? Until my grandma, in third grade and fourth grade, like this person literally just said something about y'all, and then y'all arguing, but you still, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna still show a person love. Like, makes no sense. I'm gonna still get a person a ride to Walmart on, I'm 18, man. It's like, okay, all right, so y'all friends, but this person's talking about you, yada yada, whoop de coach, whatever. But I just saw her keep loving people, even when it was tough, and that taught me a lot. But not having the father figure in my life, I had my granddad help me out a lot too, but having when I got to Hillcrest, having those coaches, and you know, every coach is different, obviously. From my ninth grade year to my 10th grade year to my 11th grade year and my 12th grade year, um, you know, huge impact leading up to when I was at Hans. Just saying, like, people. I think I tell you this all the time. People, they love talking about their celebrities and stuff like that. Just people who have impacted them or whatever. And personally, coach, man, like I've had two brothers that come from a great household. Um, that this man planted a church, and he's impacted my life greatly. But his brother has as well. And you know, the things that I've seen from both of them, I've pulled something from the both of them, and I'm using that every day with the kids that I'm mentoring.
There you go.
The things that my coaches taught me when I was at Hillcrest, football and basketball, even though I really didn't care about basketball and didn't, I care less about really getting better at it because football was my sport. I played because of my buddies and the coach. But just having those coaches that were there my 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, even my ninth grade year, those coaches really impacted me. They didn't do everything correct and they let you know, but they loved you they loved all of us, even if you came from a good family. They still loved you. Like, I can remember times one of my coaches, both of my coaches actually, specifically one time though, the head coach. I'll tell you two stories about both of them because I know we're wrapping down. But this head coach, I remember I was at the baseball game and I decided to play baseball that year. Don't know why, just played and was kind of trying to learn the game. I played a little bit with youth minister, and he taught me a lot when we were younger and stuff like that. But long story short, he took us to a Mexican restaurant, sat down with us, and just like got to know us. And I was like, man, you didn't have to. And it stayed out until like 9, got us home and stuff like that. And then from then on, it was just a relationship. The same thing with the assistant coach. He's more of a younger guy at the time, one married, and he did the exact same thing as him. He always pushed. And always tell me, you always think, yeah. I always stop thinking. The reason why is because I didn't want to disappoint. I never want to disappoint. And then the basketball coach is more hard. He's just more like, it's not your sport and everything, but you just kept pushing, coach. And it was more of like dang, man, like no matter what I do, you're just gonna be hard on me. But he was hard on me. And then now you look when you're 24 and you're growing as a young man in life and trying to do the right thing and trying to pursue your career and things like that. Like, man, you kind of look back and you say, you know what? I'm thankful for them because they pushed me in a way that nobody else would.
All right. Well, I think that was absolute. I think that was a good place for us to kind of call it for right now, man. But I think we can do this more times. I've just really enjoyed talking to you, man. Just encouraging. It really is. And that's kind of my idea on this podcast is first off, it cut us off in the middle of it. So we're experimenting with Zoom. And if I don't upgrade, then this is going to have to happen every 30 minutes or so. So every 40 minutes. But I think we got some good content to kind of put up and hopefully, bring some encouragement to other believers and maybe some non-believers out there. But that's my idea is to put your heart, people like you, put your heart on display, put my heart on display. And I think our hearts are seen more when we interact with one another, when they see the genuine, because I think there's a hunger and a thirst right now in this world for I don't want to be all negative all the time. Like, I know the world is getting worse. I know that in the end times, it says people will become lovers of self, lovers of money, right? And haters of God, that sort of thing. But I think people we don't know when the end is coming. Everybody's like, well, the end is nigh. But we don't know how long the Lord will tarry before he comes. We do know this, that he doesn't want anyone to perish and all to come to repentance. And then we know that we're seeing evidence of people being more open to the spiritual. Now they're wanting the experience. They're wanting more of the mysticism and things like that out there. There's that, but they're still experimenting with spiritual matters, which means they would be open to a God, a spirit realm, right? A God who is there. And so it's our job is still to go and make disciples, to still go and preach the gospel until he returns. And I think that people are seeking is what I'm getting at. And so I think it's very important. You just made a comment about 3 or you were going on third coach whenever we got cut off, who made an impact in your life. Now, one of them I know has felt called to the ministry before. Another one I know has served in the church before, as far as like if it's the one I'm thinking of, still the guys I'm thinking of, then I know for a fact that, he was a believer and that he volunteered in the youth and helped out, had that heart to help others out. But none of those guys signed up to do ministry at first. They signed up to use the personality and the gifts that God had given them to go and make a living and to work in the trenches, right? And the trenches for them is not going to the factory. The factory for them is the football field, is the whiteboard, is the classroom, whatever, the court, if you're one of those girly men who like basketball. But I'm getting as a joke now. I'm like, haters are going to be calling into the show, even though it's not a real show, Now, where do I call in and complain? Anyway, my point is this: none of those guys signed up to be in ministry, but you just said it, that they ministered to you, and the best way they did that was to show love and to build those relationships, which definitely, just from hearing your conversations in some of the most challenging times in your walk through this world, right? You have mentioned several times these names that have been there for you. which means their ministry mattered to you, right? And they were like, well, I didn't sign up for ministry. Yeah, but you were doing it. And to me, that's exciting. That's important. That tells us that those linemen, right, they're important. Those receivers, those cornerbacks, they're important. I mean, not everybody's going to shine, and nor should we. Jesus is the one that should shine, right? He should get all the credit. And so, whether if you're out there and you're watching this and you're like, well, I just really feel like on fire for Jesus right now, and maybe it's a calling to ministry. Well, I'll say, yeah, it is. It's a calling to ministry. It's a calling to go to your job every day. Now, I'm not discrediting somebody who God's really dealing with and giving them the gift of preaching and giving them the gift of leadership and administration and pastoring and all that. And if you've got that call in your life, you're gonna end up having to make a choice to do that or not do that. But for everyone else, if you're feeling a strong desire, a fire in your heart to lead other people to Jesus, he might not be telling you to get on a stage. I think that's the problem is we see a Christian that wants to live a Christian life and wants to share the gospel with others. Are like, well, you got a call to ministry, and then that looks like now you're going to be on staff at a church, which is going to actually handcuff you from actually doing what God called you to do. Ish, I mean, you feel me? You know what I'm saying?
I didn't know. I agree with you, Coach.
I'm saying, and so I'm like, golly, man, like what? Just let the Lord lead these people to be, because God put you in the classroom for a reason. God put you in the factory for a reason. Wherever you're working, God put you there for a reason for those people, and we got to quit looking beyond that and trying to be something different than what God calls to be, or more extravagant than God calls to be. If you're called to ministry, you'll know it, right? And God will open those doors, and you'll step through those doors, and you will fulfill that role, whatever that may be. And you're not locked in on one position,
Right.
for the rest of your life. God has used Paul as a missionary, as a pastor, as a evangelist. He's he's going to use people the way that he chooses to use people. Our heart, our desires, our role is just give him a heart each day. And anyway, I'm saying that your role is significant. So if you're out there and you're a Christian, you're like, what am I doing? I'll just say, keep doing it. Keep loving Jesus. Keep growing in your faith. Keep a group of people around you who love Jesus too. If you get anything else from this, love God, love others, and keep people around you who love God and love others, and who will help you and who will not turn their back on you when you fall, and will not turn their back on you when you don't look perfect to them anymore, or will not turn their back on you when they've made mistakes, and maybe even made a mistake towards you. Don't put yourself around people who are forgiving as Christ has commanded us to be. And put yourself around people who will not necessarily agree with everything you say. Ishmael, you don't agree with everything I say. Don't just be a yes man, but put yourself around people who are going to point you back to the Word of God, and maybe give you a different perspective on things, and might disagree with what you say, but will always be about building you up and not tearing you down. Because if you're around people who tear you down, that ain't nowhere to be.
Right.
So anyway, that being said, I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. Finally got us on here together. I'm probably gonna have us again as soon as we can. When you have a burden on your heart, man, if you got something you want to share, you want to talk about, let's do this again.
Sure. I think it, Coach. And I think by you doing this, it's gonna help a lot of people, and this doesn't have to get big. And quite frankly, I think you and me have the same mindset. We don't do anything for recognition. There's so many things that I'm doing right now that people don't even know that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I don't. The only reason why is because I don't want recognition. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anybody. Somebody finds out, great job for them. They found out somehow. But what you're doing, Coach, is going to help out a lot of people, and probably some of the people that you and I both know. They're going to probably see this and be really touched by it. Not because of me, but because of what you're doing. Because I'm on your show because God's using you to do something like this and something that you're passionate about. Because you're getting on there talking, coaching is about actual things. As a Christian, and just letting people know, hey, just because I say I'm a Christian does not mean that I'm perfect. It's not mean that I don't sin. Does not mean that I don't lust. Doesn't mean that I don't want to curse sometimes. Doesn't mean that I want to listen to Tupac sometimes. Whatever that may be. Like you still have those tempting things because you're still sinful.
Yeah.
You are still a sinful human being, and you won't depart from that until you make it to heaven.
Amen.
And be with Christ. And so, I commend you and encourage you to keep going, Coach. And I admire you for this. And,
Yeah.
just want to say that you're part of my my celebrity group, my list, because he poured a lot into me in my life and helped me out in many ways and done things for me that, most people probably wouldn't even do for other people. So, I want to thank you for that. And along with all the coaches from Hillcrest that helped me out, and along with all the teachers at Hines who poured time into me and loved me too as well, like played a big part into this time right here, right now, in the science department and, the English department, and even in Moss Hall. And just the love that those teachers gave me really pushed me forward, and it's made me who I am today. And so, just
make sure you take care of me. You take care of me when I'm old. Okay. That's all I ask. When I'm in that old, home and heading toward Ray's boom boom room, up there one day. No, and we all need a little Tupac in our life, the dear mama, you know what I'm saying? I grew up in 7th to 8th grade listening to that on the beach, man. So, and I'd be crying because I was like, I love my mama, man. So,
in the world, coach. Yeah, he's a different cat, but I mean, I'm not encouraging him. I'm just saying.
No, I'm kidding, bro. I was like, I used to love Tupac.
It's a temptation. It really is for people who really, like rap. They want to get away from it. But I was just saying, like, whoever is gonna listen to your show, coach, and wherever you post it, and however many people see it, just letting them know, like, hey, just because I am a Christian does not mean that I am not tempted by things. It does not mean that I'm saying I'm perfect. I am very much so still broken. And I'm letting you know that, and I'm really meaning when I truly say that, because it's true. I'm not just saying it for some show so you can be like, oh, he's just saying that because he wants to be known as a good guy. He just want to be humble. No, I can care less about being humble. I'm just telling you what's the truth, and the truth is the truth. Facts are facts. I'm still a sinful human being that's broken, but I'm saved by grace. And each day he's giving me the grace, and I'm very thankful for it. And I want to keep trucking and moving on and try to move past, like what we talked about earlier, those thoughts. Satan put in your mind, and it lingers throughout the day and stuff. And so,
take them captive to the obedience of Christ. And you were just preaching just there, man. I was waiting on Maurice to jump in and give me one of them what are they, praise breaks he used to do in class.
Praise God over Maurice. That's what he said. He said, praise
God, man. I was like, what? He'd be like, when I'm talking in class, I'm like, what are you doing over there? I thought he's like being exercised or something, He's like, nah, coach. He said, praise break. And I was like, I say, what? A praise break. I was like, what is a praise break, man? We didn't have those in the Baptist church I was in. We didn't have praise break. Somebody, how them old white people get, you know what I mean? That no, not downplaying, right? I'm just playing around, just goofing off, just being myself, and I'll go and I'll pray about it when I get off here. So. Man, Ishmael, I love you, and you have shown more love to me, and have been such an impact as far as encouragement for me to continue living out the Christian life in this difficult season. And I know you'll be there for me in the seasons to come. And of course, you always have my blessing, brother. I love you, and glad you're on here. And we will do this again soon.
Sounds good to me, coach. I love you too.
All right, buddy. I'm gonna tune off. I'm gonna sign out, and then I'll give you a text whenever we get out of here.
All right, coach.
All right, buddy. See you.
See you.